Welcome back, people, to Outlaw Country. I'm telling you something. This might look beautiful to everyone where I'm at, but I am chasing the marathon woman 4,000 feet up a mountain. Total elevation gain 4,000 feet in like 12 kilometers. So what's that, 12K? About 7.5, 8 miles. 4,000, just over 4,000 feet. Insane. Why am I doing it, you ask? Love. Because it is seriously kicking my ass. Big time. This is some serious steep country. Look at her running up it. Lunatic. I've always considered myself in mediocre shape in the mountains. Compared to her, I'm pretty much dead. It's a rugged steep. Anyhow, enough bitching and complaining, right? Mrs. Outlaw is training for an extreme race. She's run, I think, 7 marathons in her life. And she told me a long time ago when she did the New York Marathon, she said she was done. That just means she was done marathoning. Now, at 54 years old, or 54 years young, I'm 54 years old. She's 54 years young. At 54 years young, she decides, I think I'll go do an extreme adventure race. 24 kilometers up a mountain. Because that'll be really fun. Yep. I mean, I know I do my mountain hikes and stuff, but I don't run. The only time you'll see Outlaw Country run is when something's chasing me. I think Mrs. Outlaw's probably in Alberta right about now. She is gone. So I'm kind of slow and steady, and she's go like hell. Good for her, right? Good on her. Me personally, I'd sooner get eaten by a Sasquatch than run for 24 kilometers up a mountain. Well, I guess it's only 12 up, 12 down, so only. You can tell we're gaining serious elevation because the trees are so much smaller here. We were in huge western red cedar and fir before, and now it's small fir and some small hemlock. There's the odd big one, but waiting to see a bear come out at some point in time. Oh, look at that, you guys. I got a rare sighting of a Mrs. Outlaw Country Yes, they do exist. So hey, I'm going to tell you a quick little story while I'm trying to catch up to her. Quick little story from way back. So, about 34 years ago, I was 20 years old, and I was on a hunting trip, and I had two of my cousins with me. My one cousin, Casey, he's a few years younger than me, loves hunting and fishing, loves Bigfoot. So he was with me, and he's a real avid outdoorsman. And then we had our other cousin, Russell, with us. And Russell was right around my age, maybe a year younger or older, I don't know. He was right around my age. And he had never been hunting before, and he wanted to come with us. So I said, sure. So we took off, and he wasn't hunting, he was just along for the ride. And Casey and I, we had all the gear, so we had camp set up and got a fire going. We're sitting around the fire. And I think we're having a whiskey, because when you hike in, you can't carry beer with you, obviously. That would be stupid. And I've done some stupid things in my life, but that's not one of them. So generally when I do hike-in trips, if I'm hunting, if I take any painkillers with me, it's usually whiskey. So I took some whiskey with us, and we're sitting around the campfire having a whiskey, and Casey and I were eating some beef jerky. Well, it was actually elk jerky. So we're chewing on some elk jerky, and Russell says, "What are you eating?" And I said, "We're having some elk jerky. You want some?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'd love some." So, you know me, practical joker I am, I'm like, all right. So I reach into my pack, and in my pack, I had a couple packages of fire starter. And the fire starter was sticks about that long and about that square, maybe a 1-inch square stick, about 4 inches long. And all it is just basically just dried up sawdust with a little bit of a tiny bit, and it's compressed, but it's got a little bit of a accelerant in it. I don't know what that accelerant is, but you know, something like gas or whatever, but it wasn't gas probably. Anyways, I says, "Here you go, Russ." He didn't see where I got it from, so I just hucked him a piece of fire starter. And he grabs it and he goes, "Huh, that's kind of weird looking jerky." I go, I said, "Well, that's my homemade elk jerky, man." I said, "It's dehydrated, dry it out real good. And I said, you can use it as like a pemmican or jerky or whatever, but I said, it's just packed full of energy for you." So he's like, all right, huh. So he starts eating it, chewing away on it. He's like, "God, it's pretty dry." And I said, "Yeah, well, I dry it out big time, right?" So he's chewing away. Swallows like 2 bites of it. I'm looking at Casey, and I'm absolutely busting a gut inside, laughing so hard, but no expression on my face. And so anyways, Russell eats about half of this stick, and I go, "What do you think?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's not bad." He goes, "I thought elk was really good meat. He goes, but whatever, like this will probably give me some protein and energy. And he goes, you know, it doesn't really taste all that great, but not bad. So I'm like, right on. Then he takes the other half, he puts it in his pocket. And I said, you don't want it? And Russ says, oh yeah. No, I'm gonna save it for later when we're out hiking. And I'm like, oh buddy, no need to do that. Fill your boots. I said, I got packs and packs of that shit. Have as much as you want, give her. Oh no, I don't want to eat all your jerky, I'll save it. I'm like, dude, I got a couple pounds of this shit in my pack. Have at her. The whole Russell's like, okay. And he gets out his jerky and starts eating it again. Takes maybe two more bites. I'm full. He says, I'm good for now. Thanks. Well, Casey and I couldn't help it, man. We absolutely bust out laughing. Killing ourselves, rolling on the floor laughing. And Russ knew right away, you fuckers. What is that? So I told him, am I gonna die? I said, no, you're not gonna die. He tried to choke it up, puke it up. And took a while for old Russ to trust me again, I'll tell you that much. Anyhow, we had a lot of fun back in the day, teaching new people hunting. Oh, look what I found. Look what I found. The rare Mrs. Outlaw Country. Hopefully the trail's washed out. Awesome. You? What?
We're 500 meters up. The heart rock for you. In case this one needs some help.
You're gonna have to break it because mine's broken right now. So I thought I'd try something just a wee bit different here for you. Because I knew I'd never be able to actually stop and take a break when I'm hiking with Mrs. Outlaw. She's way ahead of me. Let her do her thing. And I read a couple of emails over the last couple of days and did my best to memorize exactly what these people went through. And then I thought I would share them as I hike with you. How's that sound? Try something different, right? Can't hurt. If you don't like it, oh well, tough shit. Anyhow, so remember Rose? Rose, our elderly native lady. Rose shared her encounter with the Bigfoot people, Sasquatch people, forest people. And I spoke with Rose and Rose's lovely daughter. Actually several times now. They're wonderful people. And so last time I spoke with Rose, she said, she calls me Love. She's like, oh, hey Love, I would like to know if you would be interested in hearing from my dear friend Albert. She says, Albert's seen the Sasquatch people many times in his life. And I said, Rose, I'd love to. So I said, I can call Albert. Albert can call me. He can email, whatever he wants. So, Albert emailed me. And then I spoke with him in person. Amazing man. Just an absolute soul full of knowledge. Anyways, Albert and Rose have known each other for since they were 8 years old. Grew up together, very good friends, and they're still friends today, very close friends. And Albert drove the school bus for over 30 years, picking kids up and taking them to school, and then picking them up at the end of the day at school, taking them home. And many, many, many years ago, there was one house that was at a dead end road at the end of the reserve. And Albert had to go there and pick these kids up. Two boys that lived at this house. So the boys would always wait down at the end of the driveway for the school bus. And I think Albert said it was about a week after he started his job, he went and picked them up, and he had about 10 children on the bus, picked those two up, and then head back into town, into the reserve, and picked up a few more for school. Anyways, he shows up at the house, and the two boys are standing at the end of the driveway. And Albert pulls right up, opens the door, and the boys are standing at the end of the driveway, well, about 50 feet behind the two boys. And these are young kids. About 50 feet behind the two kids, in the trees, Albert sees this huge Sasquatch man standing there. Well, I think he said it was standing or sitting at first and then rose. That's what it was, yeah. So it was sitting down, and it was, but in plain view. I mean, there was trees there, but he said he could see it clearly. He was about 50 feet behind the boys. The boys were 20 feet from the bus. And the thing was sitting there, and Albert saw it and said, "Hurry up in the bus." And the boys came running, and, came kind of trotting towards the bus. And Albert said, as soon as he said that, the thing rose up. And he goes, it was massive. It was just massive, and it rose up, and the boys didn't see it, Albert did. And the boys got to the door of the bus and got in the bus, and Albert said the thing turned around and walked away. And he couldn't believe it. He said that was the first time that he'd actually seen one clearly. He said he's seen them on the reserve before at night throughout the years, throughout his life. But never a real clear view of one. That was the very first time that he said he ever actually got a really good look at it. He said it was 60 feet away. It was massive. He said it was twice the size of him, but I don't know if it was, maybe twice the size, but he said it was massive. And your typical Sasquatch. And anyways, when Albert picked the boys up after school and took them home, he said he was really reluctant to let them walk up the driveway. So he dropped them off, and they got out, and he watched them walk all the way up the driveway. And next morning he goes to pick them up, same damn thing. He said that this happened for about 4 days while he was on the job. And the first 4 days that he picked these boys up. And he said on the last day, he didn't know it was the last day he was going to see it, but he picked the boys up, the being was there. And he said it was just like somebody spoke in his ear. Crystal clear, said, "I just wanted to make sure that you were safe and that you would take them to and school and bring them home from school. That's all I'm here for." He said he heard it clear as day. And then he never saw the being again for months and months and months. So he said it was quite something else. And then sorry about that, guys. I had another brief camera malfunction. Anyhow, Albert said that after that, it was amazing. He said, it was as if whoever said those words to me was right beside me, sitting right beside me in the bus. And And then he said it was months before he saw the thing again. And he said he was dropping months went by, he's dropping the boys off. He dropped them off, and it was, I think he said it was wintertime, and it was getting a little darker earlier or whatever. And the being was there, waiting, as if it was waiting for the kids. And he stopped, got out of the bus, walked them up the house, and was walking back down to the bus. And he was like, God, that was actually thinking back, he said that was not a very smart thing to do. He says, I left 6 children or whatever on the bus and walked 2 up to their house. And I left the other one sitting on the bus with a BIGFOOT within about 60 feet of the bus. But he said it, basically he walked the kids up to the house, got back to the bus, the thing was gone. So I guess a short time later, he said he went and talked to their father and didn't quite know how to bring it up, the topic, because as he said, what am I going to do? Tell, I think it didn't, Charles or Charlie, I think was the dad's name. And he goes, what am I going to do? Tell Charlie that there's a Bigfoot on his property watching his kids? And I said, well, yeah, I probably would have. Anyways, he said that he talked to the dad and said to the dad, have you ever seen the Sasquatch before around your property or around these parts? And the dad said, yeah, usually a few times a month. And Albert's like, a few times a month? And the dad says, yes, there's a whole clan that lives here down by the river. And he goes, we never go down by the river, but once in a while, members of their clan comes up here. And Albert was like, do they ever cause any harm or any, like, are they dangerous at all? And the dad goes, no, we leave them alone for the most part. They leave us alone. Once in a while, he says, when the boys are out playing, the boys will see them, but they've caused them no harm yet. And he goes, they've been here since we moved onto the property. So anyhow, I guess he talked to the dad a fair bit about it, and the dad was not worried whatsoever. And so Albert's like, so he wasn't worried, I guess I don't need to be worried. And he said that he only saw that creature just a few more times at the house, like maybe a handful of times over all the years that he drove school bus, that he saw that particular being at their house. Now again, he did say that on their reserve that there'd been many sightings. Like it was almost, he said it was almost a weekly occurrence that somebody would say that they saw. Oh yeah, and there was a name. They had a name for them. Their people had a name for the Bigfoot Sasquatch. I can't remember what it was now. But anyways, he said, oh yeah, it's almost a weekly occurrence. But strange, oddly enough, nothing bad. Which, right? What do you say to that? Nothing bad. No bad, nobody attacked, nobody really scared. He just said that people would see them generally at night, late at night or early morning. People would catch glimpses of them crossing the roads or down by the river, and just a quick glimpse gone. So it's kind of makes you wonder, that whole good bad. You can't help but think, well, yeah, you know, they've never had any issues with him, but you know, you hear from a man like Daryl and his dear wife Lisa, and I guarantee you they're going to argue that fact. So it was a pretty cool, it was a pretty brief email from Albert, but I did have a pretty good phone conversation with him. He's a man of few words, but Rose kind of is the same way. She's a woman of fairly few words, but phenomenal people. And anyways, they have another elder, and I think Rose said this friend of hers is 91, and her name is May. And Rose said that she wants to try to get May to call me. She said May can be very hard to understand when she talks, but she said, you want to know about the Sasquatch people, you talk to May. She's like, May has pretty much lived with them her entire life. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. She says, nope. She said when May was a young girl, and most of her life, that her and her family pretty much lived right amongst the forest people. And I'm like, boy, Rose, get May on the phone for me. That would be something else. I said, maybe you can sit with her and help me understand what she's saying if there's an issue there. So Rose said she would do that, which is great. So that was Albert's email, and then there was one other email, and this email was from a man by the name of Clay, and my goodness, I had his last name on the tip of my tongue. It was Clay Joyner. So Clay Joyner is a cattle rancher, and he just said he's from the north central US, so I don't know what state. And check out that tree. Looks like a cedar. It grew up on a bit of an angle, and then it grew completely straight downward, and it did a 180 degree growing down, and then it turned another 180 degrees and started growing straight up again. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. That's wild. That is wild. Anyhow, sorry guys. So anyways, yeah, Clay is a cattle rancher, and he doesn't own the ranch. He works on the ranch. He's 25 years old, I believe, and he's been a ranch hand his entire life. He said he got into ranching when he was 16 or 17, and then he finished high school, and he's worked on 2 different ranches in his life. And he said he goes, I'm a cowboy. He said he's just like me. He says he's born 100 years too late, and I always say that all the time. I'm like, yeah, I was 100 years too early, 100 years too late. I always say that too. I'm like, yeah, I was born 100 years too late. I should have been born in the late 1800s. Anyways, he has the same sort of saying, and he just said, he goes, I don't make a damn thing. I barely just make a living. But he goes, I wouldn't trade it for anything. He has a small little tiny house on the ranch that he works on, and he lives there with his girlfriend. And he said, we don't make much money. I don't make much money. And his girlfriend cooks. She's a cook on the ranch. And Clay said she doesn't make much money, but he goes, we wouldn't trade it for the world. We love it. So anyhow, his encounter was only 2 years ago. And he said he was on an overnight moving cattle. And I'm pretty sure it was springtime. And he was on a spring or late spring or early summer. And he was moving cattle from pasture to pasture, different pastures. And he said there was 4 of them. And the other 3 cowboys were older, very experienced. And he was only 23 at the time. So, you know, he still, at 23, he had 5 or 6 years experience. But anyways, they were out moving these cattle. And it was just getting dusk. And the herd of cattle that they had rounded up started going absolutely ape shit. And he went and checked on them with another guy. He said we didn't know if it was possibly wolves or maybe a bear or something, because once in a while that'll happen, or a lion will come into where the cattle are. And it must have been spring, because he said that they had the calves. And it's dangerous, right? Because lions and bears and wolves and whatnot will come in, and they'll try to single out a calf and kill it and eat it, right? And so anyways, they went out to check on they just walked over to the pasture area where the cattle all were. And he says all of the cattle were together in a ball, just like a flock of sheep, and like making a hell of a racket. And Clay started scanning kind of behind them on the hillside, and he said there was 2 of these Bigfoot walking across the hill in the thick timber. But he goes, it was thick timber, but he goes, you knew the minute you laid eyes on it what they were. And he goes, there was 2 of them about 10 feet apart, and they were walking towards, like the cattle were all facing one direction. These things were walking towards the cattle to get downwind of them, is what he said. And Clay said he did have or I think it wasn't him, one of the other guys had a gun with him, and grabbed the gun and cracked a shot off. And when they cracked the shot off, Clay said he was watching these Bigfoot. He goes, there's no doubt what they were. I didn't have to guess. He said the guy, his partner, the wrangler, let a shot go, and things froze, absolutely froze in their tracks. And he goes, they never moved for more than 5 minutes. You could see them. They were in the trees. You could completely see them, broken up a little bit by the trees. But he goes, you could make out their entire body, and they froze solid. Never moved for 5 minutes. And then he said they started moving, and they went from they were like a dark black shadow in the trees to like basically kind of like just a blur. He said it kind of, you would just see the odd branch move or whatever, but he said they basically changed right before our eyes. They changed from two dark shadows, and very distinguishable. You could see the entire outline of the body. He said they kind of had like a cone-shaped head, no neck, massive arms, massive midsection, huge legs. He goes, you could see them, man. They weren't that far from us. And they went from that. He said, yeah, it was getting darker, but we could still see them. They went from that to kind of like a blur, and within 30 seconds they were gone. Pretty wild for a 25-year-old to see that. You having fun?
Having a blast.
Yeah, me too. So much fun. I'm okay now. Going downhill's better. Anyhow, pretty wild, Clay. What as I said, you guys, every time I get an email, okay, it may take me a week or a week and a half or whatever, but whenever I get an email, I will call you back. So you send me an email, you will get a phone call back. And I phoned Clay, and then he phoned me. I left him a message, then he phoned me, and then I phoned him back and we finally connected because he said, you got to call me at about 9 o'clock at night when I'm done all my chores. So I did call him at 9 o'clock at night. What a cool dude. Like, really cool dude. You know, young kid, and he's a, I said to him, you're a 75-year-old man trapped in a 25-year-old body. And he goes, you're damn right I am. So I said, what do you do for fun? And he goes, I work. And once in a while, his girlfriend's name is Melissa. He goes, once in a while, I'll take Melissa, we'll go into town. It's about a 15-20 minute drive into town. Once in a while, we'll go into town, dance and drink beer. Just like a real, I said, just like a real cowboy. He goes, I am a real cowboy. I said, man, you're living the dream. You're living every little boy's dream, being a cowboy. And he said, I would not have it any other way. So, real cool dude. Clay, thanks for writing in. Thanks for the chat, buddy. We will definitely meet up again, 100%. Yeah, if there's no Bigfoot stories, we'll just have a good chin wag about your life, what you do, and we'll put that on the channel. You know what, Clay said that if he could ever find the time, he'd like to jump on and have a quick little interview just about his lifestyle. And he goes, it's a dying thing, being a cowboy. So he says, if there's any young people out there that want to be cowboys, I'd love to connect with them. So I'd love to get Clay on. So thanks, Clay, buddy. Appreciate it. You be safe out there wrangling up those cattle. And Albert and Rose, you guys are amazing people. Thank you so much for your time. And I will talk to all of you again. Promise you. So Mrs. Outlaw and I are going to take a little break here. So that's going to be it for today. A quick little, we'll throw this video out midweek for you guys when we do the, announce the winner of the NVG 50 night vision scope. We'll put this video out and then maybe we'll do that one right after or something. So you guys take care, be safe. More importantly than anything, be a good person. The world needs more good people, just like the 11,500 good people here at Outlaw Country. All right, take care, people. Later.